4 seconds. That's how long it took for her expression to change. She walked into that room guarded, arms crossed, scanning for threats. The kind of woman who had heard every line, deflected every advance, dismissed every man who tried too hard. He said one sentence. Not a compliment about her dress. Not praise for her eyes. Something else entirely. And I watched her posture shift. Her chin lifted, her arms uncrossed. She leaned forward without realizing she was doing it. 4 seconds. One sentence. Everything changed. What did he say? We'll get there. But first, you need to understand something that most men never grasp. Something that separates the forgettable from the unforgettable. Arthur Schopenhauer, the philosopher who understood human desire better than almost anyone, wrote that we do not want a thing because we have found reasons for it. We find reasons for it because we want it. Desire comes first. Logic follows. This is the foundation of everything I'm about to teach you. Most men try to convince women to like them. They stack compliments like evidence in a court case. You're beautiful. You're smart. You're funny. They think if they provide enough reasons, attraction will follow. They have it backwards. Completely backwards. Attraction is not a conclusion reached through evidence. It is a fire that ignites in the body and then sends the mind scrambling to explain why it's burning. Your job is not to give her reasons. Your job is to light the fire. And the 3 compliments I'm about to give you are not ordinary words. They are psychological triggers designed to bypass her logical mind entirely. They speak directly to the part of her brain that craves mystery, danger, and desire. Robert Greene, in his study of seduction throughout history, identified a pattern. The most irresistible figures were never the ones who offered the most. They were the ones who created gaps, spaces in the conversation that demanded to be filled, questions that refused to be answered, tensions that ached for resolution. That's what these compliments do. They don't complete anything. They open something. They plant seeds that grow in her mind long after you've walked away. Now here's why this matters to you right now. You've probably given hundreds of compliments in your life. Some worked, most didn't, and you couldn't figure out why. 2 different women, same compliment, completely different reactions. It seemed random. It wasn't. The difference was never the words themselves. It was what those words created in her mind. Did they close a loop or open one? Did they satisfy her curiosity or ignite it? Did they make her feel understood or make her feel like there was more to discover? Machiavelli wrote that men judge more by the eye than by the hand. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few feel what you are. This is the key. These compliments don't just tell her something nice. They make her feel something she can't quite name. And that unnamed feeling is what will keep her awake at night. Here's what we're going to cover. 3 compliments. Each one targets a different layer of her psychology. The first compliment I call the Incompleteness Principle. It targets her intellectual curiosity. It gives her a puzzle about herself that she cannot solve without you. This one makes her think. The second compliment is the danger frame. It targets her emotional circuitry. It positions her as the threat, as the one with power, as the one who could destroy you if she chose to. This one makes her feel. The third compliment is the Restraint Signal. This is the most potent. It targets her physical desire by revealing yours while demonstrating that you control it. This one makes her want. Each compliment builds on the last. Use them in the wrong order, and they lose power. Use them correctly, and you create what Jung called a complex. A cluster of emotions and thoughts centered entirely on you. But let me be clear about something. These are not tricks. These are not manipulations designed to deceive. They are precise instruments designed to communicate what most men feel but cannot express. Most men are attracted to women and have no idea how to convey that attraction in a way that creates reciprocal desire. They either hide it and become invisible, or display it clumsily and become desperate. These compliments give you a third path. They allow you to express genuine desire in a way that elevates rather than diminishes, in a way that intrigues rather than overwhelms, in a way that invites rather than demands. Schopenhauer believed that the deepest connections form when two people recognize something in each other that words struggle to capture. These compliments don't try to capture it. They point at it. They acknowledge that something exists between you that neither of you fully understands yet. And that acknowledgement is more powerful than any complete statement could ever be. Now, before I give you the first compliment, I need to explain something that will determine whether any of this works. It's called the foundation of tension. Without it, these words are just sounds. With it, these words become unforgettable. Greene wrote that what is offered for free is dangerous. It usually involves a trick or hidden obligation. What has worth is worth paying for. This applies directly to compliments. The ones you give away freely are worthless. The ones that cost you something, that require courage, that risk rejection, those are the ones she will remember. So the first question is not what do I say? The first question is when do I say it? And that question has a very specific answer. Let me show you. Here is the first compliment. Listen carefully because the words matter less than you think. What matters is the structure underneath. You say something that cannot be resolved. Something that opens a question about herself that only you seem to know the answer to. Something like this. I keep trying to figure out what it is about you. There's something there. I can't name it yet. Now, let me explain exactly what happens in her mind when she hears this. Because if you understand the mechanism, you can adapt these words to any situation, any moment, any woman. Freud identified something called the repetition compulsion. The mind returns obsessively to unfinished things, incomplete experiences, unresolved tensions. This is why you remember the relationship that ended badly longer than the one that ended peacefully. The clean ending gives you closure. The messy ending keeps pulling you back. This compliment creates an incomplete experience. You've told her that something about her has captured your attention, but you haven't told her what. You've created a gap that her mind will try to fill. And because she cannot fill it without you, she will keep returning to you, mentally, even when you're not there. This is the incompleteness principle. It is not about withholding information to be mysterious. It is about genuinely pointing at something real that you cannot yet articulate. Because here's the truth most men miss. You actually don't know what it is. Attraction is not logical. When someone draws you in, you feel it before you understand it. This compliment simply expresses that truth honestly. Schopenhauer wrote that music expresses the inner nature of emotion without concepts. Attraction works the same way. It exists before language can capture it. When you say, I can't name it yet, you are being truthful. You're acknowledging a feeling that precedes explanation. Now let me show you how this looks in practice. Imagine this scene. You're at a dinner. Mutual friends introduced you. The conversation has been pleasant, but surface level. Jobs, travel, safe topics. She's engaged, but not captivated. You're one of several people she's talked to tonight. The group shifts. For a moment, you're alone with her. She asks a simple question. Something like, so, what do you do for fun? Most men answer the question directly. They list hobbies, They try to sound interesting. They miss the opportunity completely. Instead, you pause, just for a beat. You look at her like you're noticing something for the first time. Then you say, "I keep trying to figure out what it is about you. There's something there. I can't name it yet." Then you smile slightly and answer her question about hobbies as if you didn't just shift everything. Watch what happens. She will try to continue the conversation normally. But part of her mind just split off. That part is now circling your words. What did he mean? What does he see? What is it about me? She might ask directly. What do you mean? If she does, you don't explain. You don't backtrack. You simply say, "I don't know yet." That's what makes it interesting. Then you change the subject. Now let me show you how most men destroy this. First mistake. They explain. She asks, "What do you mean?" And they start listing things. Your eyes, the way you laugh, how you hold your drink. Each explanation closes the loop. Each answer kills the mystery. She now has nothing to think about. Second mistake, they deliver it like a line. Their voice shifts into performance mode. Their eye contact becomes too intense. She senses the tactic. She categorizes you as a player. The compliment dies on impact. Third mistake, they say it too early. No foundation, no prior conversation, no established rapport. It lands as strange, try hard, or creepy. Context matters more than content. Jung wrote about the tension of opposites, how the psyche holds contradictory forces in suspension. This compliment only works when you hold two things at once: genuine interest and genuine uncertainty. You are drawn to her, and you do not know why. Both must be true. If you're only performing interest, she'll sense it. If you actually know exactly why you find her attractive, you'll be tempted to explain, and the spell will break. The sweet spot is authentic confusion. Real curiosity about your own reaction to her. That honesty transmits. She feels it. Now here's why this compliment is the foundation for everything that follows. This one operates on the intellectual level. It engages her thinking mind. It gives her a puzzle about herself. Women spend significant mental energy on self-analysis. Who am I? How do others see me? What makes me different? When you suggest that there's something about her that you're still figuring out, you tap into that ongoing self-examination. You become part of it. But thinking alone doesn't create obsession. The next compliment moves from her mind to her emotions. It makes her feel something she rarely feels. And that feeling is far more dangerous than curiosity. Before I give it to you, I need to explain the shift we're about to make. Compliment 1 made her think about you. Compliment 2 will make her feel something about herself that she's secretly craved. Something almost no man has ever given her. She doesn't want to be worshipped. She doesn't want to be praised. Not deep down. What she wants, what she's never been able to admit, is something far more primal. And once you understand it, you'll never see female desire the same way again. Here is the second compliment, and this one requires more courage to deliver than the first. You say something that frames her not as beautiful, not as desirable, but as dangerous. Something like this: "You are the kind of woman who could ruin someone's entire plan for their life, and I think you know it." Let that land for a moment. Feel the difference between that and every other compliment she's ever received. Most compliments position the man as the judge and the woman as the judged. "You're beautiful" is a verdict delivered from above. It places her beneath your evaluation. Even if she accepts the compliment, the frame remains. You assessed her. You approved her. The power stayed with you. This compliment reverses everything. Suddenly, you're not the judge. You're the one at risk. You're the one who might be destroyed. And she is the force that could do the destroying. Machiavelli understood this principle intimately. He wrote that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. But he also understood something subtler. Those who are feared hold power, and everyone secretly wants to be feared, at least a little, because fear is just respect with teeth. When you tell a woman she could ruin someone's entire plan, you're not insulting her. You're acknowledging her power. You're saying that she has the capacity to upend a man's carefully constructed life. His goals, his focus, his discipline, all of it vulnerable to her. This is what she secretly wants to hear. Not that she's pretty enough to be admired, but that she's powerful enough to be dangerous. Let me show you the psychology beneath this. Nietzsche wrote extensively about the will to power, the fundamental drive in humans to assert strength, to affect the world, to matter. This drive exists in everyone, regardless of gender. Women have simply been told to suppress it, to be soft, to be pleasing, to be the desired rather than the desiring. When you acknowledge her power explicitly, you validate something she may have never heard named. You see past the performance of femininity to the force underneath. And being seen that deeply is intoxicating. Now let me show you how this looks in practice. Picture this. You've been talking for a while. The first compliment landed. She's been thinking about you, trying to figure out what you meant. The energy has shifted from polite to charged. She does something. Maybe she touches your arm while making a point. Maybe she holds eye contact a half-second longer than necessary. Maybe she says something provocative and watches your reaction carefully. This is your moment. You shake your head slightly, almost to yourself. You let out a breath. Then you look at her and say it. Not loud, not performed, almost like a confession. You are the kind of woman who could ruin someone's entire plan for their life, and I think you know it. Then you hold her gaze for 1 beat, 2 beats. Then you look away first, as if collecting yourself, as if she just affected you more than you intended to show. That sequence matters. You did not wait for her reaction with needy expectation. You delivered truth and then moved through it. You demonstrated that her power is real by showing its effect on you. Then you demonstrated that you can handle it by recovering your composure. Now, let me show you how most men fail with this. First failure, they make it sexual too fast. The kind of woman who could ruin a man becomes a cheap reference to physical destruction. It loses all its power. The compliment works because it's ambiguous. She could ruin a man's plans through obsession, through distraction, through making him want things he swore he'd never want. The moment you make it explicitly sexual, you collapse the mystery into something ordinary. Second failure. They say it with a smirk. The smirk communicates that it's a game, that you're playing, that nothing you say should be taken seriously. This compliment only works when delivered with gravity, with weight, as if you're admitting something you'd rather not admit. Third failure. They need her to respond well. They deliver the compliment and then watch her face desperately, waiting for validation. That neediness contradicts everything the words implied. You just told her she's dangerous. Then you acted like a man who needs approval. The incongruence destroys you. Greene wrote about the power of strategic vulnerability, revealing weakness deliberately in a way that actually demonstrates strength. This compliment is strategic vulnerability. You're admitting that she affects you, but the admission itself is bold. It requires confidence. Only a man who trusts himself around danger would acknowledge that danger openly. This brings us to the critical shift between compliment 2 and compliment 3. Compliment 1 made her think about you. What did he mean? What does he see? Compliment 2 made her feel powerful. She's not just attractive. She's dangerous. She has force. But neither of these compliments addressed the physical directly. Neither acknowledged the body, the pull, the want. And that tension between mental connection, emotional recognition, and physical desire, that tension is where obsession lives. The third compliment walks into that territory, and it's the riskiest of all, because it deals with desire explicitly. It names what usually stays unnamed. It brings the heat from subtext to text. Most men are terrified to say it. That's why it works so powerfully when you do. But before I give it to you, I need to explain why restraint is more seductive than action, and why showing what you could do matters more than doing it. Here is the third compliment, the most dangerous of all. You say something that names your physical response to her while demonstrating that you control it. Something like this: I need you to know that staying composed around you is taking more effort than it probably should. Read that again. Notice what it does. It confesses desire. You are affecting me. I am drawn to you physically, but it demonstrates mastery. I am aware of this pull. I am choosing how to respond to it. I remain composed. This combination is devastatingly effective. And here's why. Schopenhauer argued that the will, our deepest driving force, expresses itself most powerfully through desire. Sexual desire, specifically, represents the will to life itself manifesting through individuals. It is not a shallow want. It is the deepest current in human nature. When you acknowledge that current directly, you validate something real. Most social interaction pretends desire doesn't exist. We have polite conversations. We exchange safe pleasantries. Meanwhile, underneath, attraction pulses between people constantly, acknowledged by no one. When you name it, you step outside that pretense. You become the only person in the room speaking honestly about what's actually happening. And honesty about desire is startling. It's rare. It's unforgettable. But the second half of the compliment matters just as much. If you simply said, "You're driving me crazy," you would confess desire without demonstrating control. You would position yourself as overwhelmed, swept away, helpless. That's not attractive. That's the behavior of every man who ever made a woman uncomfortable by wanting too openly, too desperately, too soon. The crucial difference is the word effort. Staying composed is taking effort. This admits the pull while proving you can handle it. You're not controlled by your desire. You're in conversation with it. You feel it fully and choose your response deliberately. This distinction maps directly onto what women have told us they want for centuries, though most men have never listened carefully. They want a man who desires them intensely, and they want a man who controls himself. Most men offer one or the other. Either they hide their desire entirely and come across as passionless, or they display it uncontrollably and come across as threatening. The third compliment offers both at once. I want you, and I govern myself. That combination is extraordinarily rare. Let me show you this in action. The scene. The evening is late. You've been together for hours. The first two compliments have landed. She's intrigued. She feels seen. She feels powerful. The conversation has grown more personal. You're sitting closer than you were at the start. There's a pause. Not awkward. Charged. She's looking at you, waiting to see what you'll do. This is a test moment. Most men either lunge forward too fast or retreat into safety. Both wrong. Instead, you hold the pause. You let the tension build. Then you exhale, shake your head slightly, and say it. I need you to know that staying composed around you is taking more effort than it probably should. You don't move toward her. You don't touch her. You just let the words exist in the space between you. What happens next depends on her. She might laugh, deflecting. She might look away, processing. She might move closer. Whatever she does, you respond to her action rather than pushing your own agenda. The power here is that you've given her complete information while demanding nothing. You've said, "Here's what's happening in me. Now it's your move." Epictetus taught that we cannot control external events. We can only control our response. This compliment embodies that principle. You cannot control whether she reciprocates. You can only control how honestly and how masterfully you express your own experience. Now let me show you how this fails. First failure, acting on it immediately. You say staying composed is taking effort, and then immediately lean in, touch her, or try to kiss her. This proves the opposite of what you claimed. You said you were composed. Then you showed that you weren't. Your words and actions contradict. Trust collapses. Second failure, saying it without any foundation. The first two compliments build context. They establish that you see her differently than other men do. Without that foundation, the third compliment lands as a crude "come on." Just another guy expressing physical desire with no psychological depth beneath it. Third failure, delivering it with shame. Some men speak about their own desire as if apologizing for it, as if wanting a woman is somehow wrong or embarrassing. That shame transmits instantly. She doesn't feel desired. She feels like your desire is a burden to you. That's not attractive. The correct frame is what Nietzsche called amor fati, love of fate, acceptance of what is. You desire her. That's not a problem. That's not something to manage or suppress. It's a fact of nature. You accept it fully, and within that acceptance, you choose your actions wisely. This compliment says, I feel the pull of nature toward you. I accept that pull completely, and I remain the author of my own behavior. That combination of acceptance and authorship is the foundation of masculine presence. It's what separates the man who makes her feel unsafe from the man who makes her feel alive. We're not finished with this compliment. There are layers here about timing and context that determine whether it lands as magnetic or inappropriate. But before we go deeper, I need to explain something about the architecture of these three compliments together. Because used in isolation, each one works. Used in sequence, they become something far more powerful. Greene called this the seductive chain. Each link builds on the last, and the chain itself is stronger than any individual link. Let me show you how these three complements form a complete psychological structure. Now, I want to show you something that transforms these complements from tactics into a system. Used separately, each complement can create a moment. Used together, in sequence, they create something that lasts. They build a psychological architecture in her mind where you take up permanent residence. Let me explain the structure. The first complement, the Incompleteness Principle, establishes that you perceive something about her that others miss, something you can't quite name. This plants a seed of curiosity. She wonders what you see. She begins examining herself through your eyes. The second complement, the danger frame, validates something she secretly knows but rarely hears acknowledged: her power, her capacity to affect, to disrupt, to matter. This seed grows into something emotional. She doesn't just wonder what you see. She feels recognized in a way that's unfamiliar. The third complement, the Restraint Signal, names the physical while demonstrating control. This creates tension in her body. Not just her mind, not just her emotions. her actual physical experience shifts: mind, heart, body. In that order. Jung wrote extensively about how symbols gain power through layering. A single image means little, but an image connected to other images, building a web of associations, becomes an archetype, something that resonates at the deepest level. These complements work the same way. Each one is a thread. Together, they weave something she can't easily untangle. You've engaged her curiosity. You've touched her pride. You've acknowledged your desire. 3 threads, 1 tapestry. Now here's the principle that makes this architecture work. Machiavelli wrote that men are driven by 2 main impulses: fear and desire. He who can inspire both holds tremendous influence. These complements create a version of both. Not fear in the survival sense, but uncertainty, productive discomfort. She can't predict you entirely. She doesn't know exactly what you'll say or do next. That keeps her attention locked. And obviously, desire. By the 3rd complement, you've made clear that you want her. Not in a needy way, in a chosen way. You see her, you're affected by her, and you remain in control of yourself. Now let me show you how to deploy these across time. Mistake number 1. Compressing them. Some men hear these 3 complements and decide to use all of them in a single conversation. Within an hour, they've delivered all 3. This destroys the effect. Each complement needs space to breathe. Time for her to think about it. Time for it to sink into her memory. If you stack them too quickly, they blur together. None of them has time to take root. The ideal pace: days between them. At minimum, significant conversations between them. Each complement should feel like a new chapter, not a continuation of the same page. Mistake number 2. Rigid scripting. I've given you the structure of each complement, but the words must become yours. If you memorize my exact phrasing and deliver it robotically, she'll sense the performance. The words themselves matter less than the principle beneath them. The Incompleteness Principle can be expressed 100 ways. The point is always the same. You see something in her that you can't fully explain yet. The danger frame can be expressed with different metaphors. The point is always the same. She has power, and you acknowledge it. The restraint signal can use different language. The point is always the same. You're affected by her, and you control yourself. Master the principles. Let the words emerge naturally from the moment. Mistake number 3. Ignoring context. These complements land differently in different situations. The same words that create electricity in a private moment can create awkwardness in a group setting. Reading context is everything. The Incompleteness Principle works best early, in transitional moments. A pause in conversation. A shift from group to one-on-one. A moment where depth is suddenly possible. The danger frame works best when she's done something that affected you. When you can point at a real moment and say, "There, that's what I mean." The complement responds to her behavior rather than appearing from nowhere. The restraint signal works best in physical proximity, when you're close, when the possibility of touch exists, when naming the tension makes sense because both of you feel it. Now, let me address something that separates advanced practitioners from beginners. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the object of life is not to be on the side of the majority, but to escape finding oneself in the ranks of the insane. In this context, the insane are the men who mistake tactics for connection, who memorize lines without understanding why they work, who see women as puzzles to solve rather than people to engage with. These complements work because they express something real: the curiosity you feel, the power you perceive in her, the desire you experience. If those things aren't true, the complements ring hollow. This brings us to something most videos in this space never mention: the question of authenticity. Freud argued that the unconscious communicates constantly, whether we intend it to or not. Body language, micro-expressions, vocal tone. These transmit our true state beneath our words. You can say the right thing while feeling the wrong thing, and something in your delivery will betray you. For these compliments to work, you must actually feel what they express, which means developing genuine curiosity about women, genuine appreciation for their power, genuine comfort with your own desire. This is not a script to hide behind. It is a language for expressing what's already true. And that distinction matters more than any technique could. Now let me show you specific scenarios where each compliment shines and where each one fails. Because the difference between magnetic and inappropriate is often just a question of when. Let me give you specific situations where these compliments succeed and where they fail, because theory without application is useless. Scenario 1. The professional environment. You're at a work event. There's a woman you find compelling. The energy seems mutual. You've had pleasant exchanges before. Tonight, something feels different. Here's the danger. Professional contexts have invisible rules. Move too boldly, and you're not mysterious. You're a liability. You are the story she tells her friends about the guy who made things weird at the office party. The incompleteness principle works here because it's deniable. You can say something like, "I keep trying to figure you out." There's something there. It sounds like professional interest, like you're trying to understand her as a person. Only the charge beneath it suggests something more. The danger frame is riskier here. Calling a colleague dangerous can be misread as criticism of her professional reputation. You'd need to modify it significantly. Perhaps something like, "Talking to you always throws off my whole plan for the evening." The restraint signal should almost never be used in professional contexts. Naming physical desire at work crosses lines that most situations can't recover from. Save it. Albert Ellis, the psychologist who founded rational emotive therapy, taught that context determines meaning. The same words carry different weight in different containers. Professional containers require careful handling. Scenario 2. The dating app transition. You've been texting. It's going well. You're planning to meet. How do these compliments work in text? Carefully. Text removes tone, removes body language, removes all the nonverbal channels that carry most of human communication. The same words that land perfectly in person can seem awkward or try hard in text. For the incompleteness principle, text actually works well. Something like, "I can already tell there's something about you I won't figure out right away," is intriguing in text. It creates anticipation for the meeting. The danger frame needs significant modification for text. You might say something like, "I have a feeling you're going to be trouble in a good way." Light, playful, suggesting depth, without the weight that requires physical presence. The restraint signal should wait for in-person. Texting about physical desire before you've met creates pressure. It suggests that you're imagining her body before you know her as a person. Most women find that uncomfortable, rather than flattering. Scenario 3. The established relationship. These compliments don't stop working once you're together. If anything, they become more important. Long-term relationships die from predictability, from partners who stop seeing each other freshly. The incompleteness principle. After years together, you might say there are still parts of you I'm discovering. This counters the assumption that you've mapped her entirely. It tells her that she remains surprising to you. The danger frame. Even in marriage, a woman wants to feel powerful. Something like 10 years in, and you still have that effect on me, validates her continued impact on you. The restraint signal. This transforms in committed relationships. Instead of restraint suggesting control before intimacy, it suggests control within intimacy. I want you right now, but we're at your mother's house. The desire is constant. The restraint is situational. Hobbes wrote that life is a perpetual and restless desire of power after power that ceases only in death. Relationships require continuous confirmation that the other person still desires you, still finds you powerful, still feels pulled toward you. These compliments provide that confirmation. Now let me address the failure modes more directly. Failure mode 1. The performer. This is the man who treats these compliments as moves in a game. His voice changes when he delivers them. His eye contact becomes theatrical. He waits for her reaction like a comedian who just told a joke. Women sense this instantly. The performance signals that the content isn't real, that he's running a script rather than speaking from genuine experience. The fix: stop thinking of these as compliments to deploy, and start thinking of them as truths to express. When you actually feel curious about her, finding the words is easy. When you're manufacturing curiosity, no words will save you. Failure mode 2. The escalator. This is the man who delivers the compliments and then expects immediate progress. He treats each one as a move toward a goal, rather than a gift with no strings attached. His energy communicates expectation. She feels the pressure. The compliments become obligations she's supposed to repay with interest or affection. The fix: deliver and release. Say what you mean. Then move on. Don't watch her face for validation. Don't steer conversation toward the topic again. Let your words exist independently. Let her respond in her own time, in her own way. Failure mode 3. The apologizer. This is the man who delivers a compliment and then immediately softens it. He says you're dangerous, and then adds, "I mean that," in a good way. He says staying composed around you takes effort, and then laughs nervously and says, "Sorry, that was weird." Each apology undercuts the words that came before. It signals that he doesn't stand behind what he said. The fix: silence after delivery. The compliment lands. You let it land. You don't explain. You don't clarify. You don't apologize. You let the words exist with their full weight. Plato argued that courage is knowing what not to fear. In this context, courage is not fearing the space after you speak, not rushing to fill silence with justification, trusting that your words were enough. We're approaching the final section now, and I want to leave you with something that goes beyond these 3 compliments. Something about why this approach works at the level of human nature itself. Because if you understand the why, you can generate your own compliments, your own expressions, your own unique way of making someone feel unforgettable. That's where real mastery lives. I want to close by giving you something that most videos in this space never offer. Not just tactics, not just compliments. An understanding of why any of this works at the level of human nature. Because if you grasp the underlying principles, you'll never need to memorize another line. You'll generate your own words naturally from genuine understanding. Here's the foundation. Schopenhauer believed that human beings are driven by forces we barely understand. Our will operates beneath consciousness. We feel desires, make decisions, and experience attractions without fully knowing why. Most of our explanations are post hoc rationalizations, stories we tell ourselves after the fact. Attraction is the clearest example. Ask someone why they're drawn to a particular person, and they'll give you reasons: their smile, their intelligence, their sense of humor. But those reasons came after the attraction, not before. The pull happened first. The explanation followed. This means that trying to convince someone to be attracted to you through logical arguments is fundamentally misguided. You can't reason your way into someone's heart. You can only create experiences that trigger responses beneath the level of reason. That's what these compliments do. They don't argue. They don't persuade. They create experiences. The experience of being seen. The experience of being powerful. The experience of being desired. Those experiences trigger emotional and physical responses that no argument could produce. Lamarck proposed that organisms adapt to their environment in ways that shape future generations. While his specific mechanism was wrong, his insight about adaptation matters here. We are shaped by our environments, and we respond powerfully to experiences that our ancestors would have valued. For thousands of generations, being seen meant safety. Being powerful meant survival. Being desired meant reproduction. These are not arbitrary preferences. They are wired into us at the deepest level. When you offer someone the experience of being truly seen, of being recognized as powerful, of being desired by someone who controls himself, you tap into circuits that have been rewarded for millennia. The response is not chosen. It is triggered. Now here's where this connects to your own development. These compliments work because they require genuine qualities to deliver properly. The incompleteness principle requires actual curiosity. The danger frame requires actual perception of power. The restraint signal requires actual desire alongside actual self-control. You cannot fake these. You can only develop them. Jung wrote about individuation, the process of becoming who you actually are by integrating all parts of yourself, including the parts you've rejected or hidden. The man who delivers these compliments authentically has done inner work. He's not performing confidence. He's embodied it through confronting his own fears and weaknesses. This is why I call this channel the shadow mind. Your shadow, in Jungian terms, contains everything you've disowned. Your aggression, your desire, your ambition, your capacity for ruthlessness. Most men have been taught to suppress these qualities, to be nice, to be safe, to never threaten. But suppression doesn't eliminate these forces. It just drives them underground, where they emerge sideways, as passive aggression, as neediness, as sudden outbursts of uncontrolled emotion. The man who speaks these compliments well has integrated his shadow. He knows his desire and doesn't fear it. He recognizes power in others because he's comfortable with his own. He exercises restraint not from fear, but from choice. This integration is the real work. The compliments are just expressions of someone who has done that work. Let me leave you with this. Marcus Aurelius wrote that very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. The same applies here. Very little is needed to become unforgettable. Not techniques, not lines, not manipulations, just genuine presence, authentic expression, and the courage to say what you actually mean. The 3 compliments I've given you today are tools for articulating presence, for putting into words what often goes unsaid, but they're only as powerful as the person speaking them. If you're watching this and you've never done the inner work, these words will feel foreign in your mouth. They'll sound scripted. They'll land flat. But if you've done the work, if you've confronted your fears, integrated your shadow, developed genuine curiosity and comfort with desire, then these words will feel like relief. Finally, a way to say what you've always felt but couldn't express. That's what I want for you. Not tricks that work temporarily, but authentic expression that works permanently. Not manipulation that leaves you empty, but genuine connection that leaves both of you better than before. The 3 compliments. The incompleteness principle. Showing her you see something in her you can't yet name. The danger frame. Acknowledging her power to affect and disrupt. The restraint signal. Confessing desire while demonstrating mastery. Mind, heart, body, curiosity, power, want, used in sequence, with time between them, with genuine feeling beneath them. These complements don't just create attraction. They create something a woman returns to in her mind, something that becomes part of how she thinks about herself, something unforgettable. That's what you're building. Not a moment, a memory, a pattern that plays in her mind when she's alone, when she's wondering about you, when she's feeling again what she felt when you said those words. This is the shadow mind. Stay sharp, stay aware. And next time, we go deeper, into the psychology of what makes someone irreplaceable, not just unforgettable. Because anyone can leave an impression. The question is whether you can become indispensable. I'll see you then.